Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a stack of sources you brought us, and they detail, well, one of the most ambitious projects I've ever seen, the United Nations of the Earth, or UE.
It's a huge proposal.
Right. So, our mission today is to really unpack this. We're going beyond the headlines to look at the philosophy, the crypto architecture, and the AI they want to use to build this global digital democracy.
And it really is a complete technical stack. What these sources show is a plan to essentially replace institutional authority with verifiable, immutable code.
That framing is so important. They're building a technical solution for what they see as a political and social problem. So let's start right there with the problem they're trying to solve.
Well, the documents kick off by looking at our digital lives right now. Whether it's a giant tech company or a government, someone somewhere always holds the keys.
They have that centralized control.
Exactly. And that means they can delete your account, they can track your behavior, they can even change a message you tried to send. The whole critique is that this kind of control, corporate or political, just leads to censorship.
So the solution isn't just a better institution. It's to get rid of the need for the institution in the first place.
That's the goal.
Ah.
The UNE is designed to just bypass national borders using technology to give every single person an equal and verifiable voice.
And they secure that voice with something they call cryptographic truth, not institutional authority.
Right. The argument is that if the rules are written in mathematics that anyone can audit, they're just fundamentally more trustworthy than rules written on a piece of paper that a few people can change behind closed doors.
Okay, so let's unpack the philosophy behind all this tech. You can see they're drawing inspiration from, existing democratic republics. What are the core beliefs they're trying to write into code?
Well, it's very clear they're building on the idea of the sovereignty of the people. They take concepts from things like the U.S. Constitution like representative governance, but they apply it globally. The aim is for universal unity, not just national interest.
And when it comes to fundamental rights, they start with the classics, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, but then they expand that into our digital world.
Immediately. And this is where the UNE Constitution really moves beyond history. They lay out these specific, non-negotiable digital rights.
And these aren't just suggestions.
No, they're fundamental to being a citizen in this system. The right to digital privacy, secure communication that can't be censored, and real protection of your personal data. All of that is just baked in.
It really sounds like they're trying to create a framework that treats, say, a data breach with the same seriousness as a physical violation of your rights.
Precisely. And that naturally leads to their mandate on transparency. All government data, all decision-making, it has to be publicly accessible. It's like a mandatory global audit trail for every single action the UNE takes.
Is there any exception to that? I mean, that seems incredibly open.
There's one very narrow exception for information that's critical to global security. But even then, an independent body has to review it, and the fact that it was classified has to be public.
And what about the system itself, the code?
That's the most important part. The AI, the blockchain, the whole engine of governance must be open source. It has to be subject to regular audits. You can't ask for public trust if you don't show the public the source code.
That feels like a critical safeguard. If the system is code, you have to be able to check that code for bugs or backdoors. This takes us right to the tech, what they call the Foundation Protocol, or FP. This is the base layer, isn't it?
That's right. The FP is designed to be this layer that just can't be shut down. It can't be censored or controlled by any one group. It's meant to be like digital bedrock.
So not a website, but a new set of rules for the internet.
Exactly. It provides the basics: identity, communication, and governance. Like a base layer for the internet, but engineered for trust.
That is a massive claim. How do they actually break that down? How does the Foundation Protocol achieve that?
It's structured into 3 layers that all work together. First up, you have the communication layer. Its whole job is to make messaging unstoppable.
Unstoppable. What does that actually mean for you as a user?
It means when you send a message, whether it's a vote or just a document, it's cryptographically signed with your personal key.
And that signature is the proof.
It's the mathematical proof of authenticity. Once it's signed and out on the network, that message can't be blocked, it can't be changed, it can't be deleted, because if anyone tried, the signature would just instantly break.
So authenticity is guaranteed by the math, which brings us to the second layer, the constitutional layer. We talked about rights in the documents, but here they claim the rights are built into the protocol itself.
This is their boldest claim, I think. The sources call them unbreakable laws written in math. The core rights, privacy, free speech, they're hard-coded into the software at the most fundamental level.
So what, the community couldn't just vote them away?
No. Even if a future global council wanted to vote to, say, get rid of digital anonymity, the protocol itself would just refuse to execute the command. It's an attempt to create a mathematically enforced separation of powers.
That's fascinating. It's like encoding ethical guardrails directly into the software to prevent democratic decay. But let's get to the governance layer, because that's where people come in. They use something called Bayesian reputation.
It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty meritocratic. It's a system to give influence based on performance, kind of like a global prediction market for governance.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
People participate in debates, they propose policies, and they can even make specific verifiable predictions about what will happen if a policy is enacted.
And if you're right.
If your analysis or your predictions turn out to be accurate and help the community, your reputation score goes up. And so your influence, your vote, carries a little more weight in the future.
So the system is designed to reward competence and, well, truthfulness over just being loud or popular. It's a way to fight misinformation by penalizing bad judgment.
Exactly. If you consistently share misleading info or make bad predictions, your score goes down and your influence shrinks. The idea is to filter out the noise and amplify the signal in the whole governance process.
That's a really sharp insight. It's not just about secure voting, it's about using prediction markets against tribalism. But none of this works without identity. They call it self-sovereign identity. How do you create one without an email or a password?
This is where it's a clean break from the old web. When you go to create an identity, your browser, using its own local crypto tools, basically generates a unique digital passport for you. It's a cryptographic key pair.
So there's no third party involved.
None. The public key is your identity, is how the network sees you. The private key is known only to you, stored right there on your device.
So no one can delete your account. No Facebook, no Google.
Right. They can't seize it or ban it. Now, if you lose your private key, you've lost your identity. That's on you. But the system itself can't just wipe you from existence.
Okay, so that solves the centralized identity problem. But how does that key protect the actual messages I send?
That's where the universal message primitive comes in. Every single piece of communication, a vote, a post, whatever, uses the exact same digital format, a standardized JSON structure.
And when you create that message, it gets 2 layers of protection applied at the same time.
That's right. Think of it as a digital fingerprint and a digital signature. First, the message content is run through a hashing function, specifically SHA-256, which creates the unique message ID. That ensures it's immutable.
So if you change 1 comma, the whole fingerprint changes.
Completely. Then the second step is signing that message with your private key. That confirms authenticity. So if the message is altered, the fingerprint changes, and the signature breaks. The system knows instantly that something's wrong.
That does sound computationally locked down. It's a very secure base. But I did see a detail in the MVP notes that seems like a pretty big contradiction. It says the current version uses a centralized relay server.
It is a contradiction, and to their credit, the designers acknowledge it. It's a complexity issue. They had to prioritize getting the math of the protocol right first, the identity and the messaging.
So the centralized part is just temporary.
That's the claim. The current MVP uses a simple centralized database just to test these features. The identity and the message verification are already fully end-to-end cryptographic. That server is just a temporary bulletin board.
A bulletin board they can get rid of once the real peer-to-peer network is ready?
Exactly. The protocol is built to just shrug off that server and switch to a decentralized network when it's launched.
That makes sense. Build the unbreakable math first, then scale the infrastructure. Okay, let's shift to how all this tech actually supports the formal governance structure they laid out in their constitution.
The structure is, it's a mix of things we'd recognize and some pretty radical ideas. It's a 3-tiered system. At the very top, you have the Global Council. It's the main legislative body made up of elected representatives, like a global parliament.
And under that?
You have regional assemblies. They're meant to handle local governance, to respect cultural diversity. But there's one golden rule. No local law can violate the universal rights from the UNE Constitution.
And then the third layer, which feels the most revolutionary, is the direct involvement of every single person through the citizen voting platform.
Precisely. This guarantees every citizen the right to participate directly. And because of the self-sovereign identity in the blockchain, the system ensures every vote is secure, it can't be manipulated, and everyone's vote has equal weight. One person, one voice.
That level of direct participation, it needs to be incredibly reliable. So how do the AI and the blockchain really tie into this? How do they make it all work?
Article 4 of the Constitution lays it all out. Blockchain governance is the foundation for everything. Every vote, every decision, every law is recorded on the blockchain. That makes it immutable and transparent.
And they plan to use smart contracts to automate things.
Yeah, to automate regulatory enforcement. So actions get triggered automatically by verifiable data, which should, in theory, reduce corruption and human inefficiency.
But wait a minute. If you automate governance with a smart contract, what happens if there's a bug in the code? How do you fix unbreakable math? Is there a human fail-safe here?
That's the core debate they built into the system. The source material is clear that while smart contracts automate the implementation, the final authority is still human. The Global Council or regional assemblies can vote to update the contracts if a bug is found.
But that requires consensus, so no single person can just make a change.
Right, it forces a transparent public debate. Now, as for the AI's role, it's there to guide policy, not to make the laws itself.
So it's a support system.
Correct. They call it AI-driven decision support. These AI models analyze policy, they predict resource needs, and most importantly, they model the potential impacts of laws before they're passed.
So instead of a politician just guessing what a new policy might do, the AI can run a million simulations.
That's the vision. It's about making decisions based on data and modeling, not just ideology. And the ethical rules are strict. The AI has to be transparent, explainable, and always under human oversight. It's designed with safeguards to prevent bias.
For you, the listener, the big takeaway here is that this system promises to get rid of opaque governance. Decisions are based on data and public records, so you can see the potential impact in real time.
It's designed to be the end of governance happening in the shadows. It changes the power dynamic completely.
Speaking of change, let's look at their roadmap. This is not a quick project. The documents lay out a multi-year plan. What does that path look like?
It's broken into 3 big phases. Phase 1 is the first 6 months, foundation building. This is all the intellectual work, finalizing the Constitution, setting up the open source code, and training their custom AI on those founding documents.
So they're building the AI's ethics based on their Constitution.
Yes. Then comes phase 2, from 6 to 12 months. That's infrastructure. This is the heavy lifting, designing the blockchain architecture and critically starting the digital citizenship rollout. The one that people can actually start getting these self-sovereign identities.
And phase 3 is where it all scales up.
Right. Phase 3. Scaling and automation is planned for 1 to 3 years out. This is where they introduce protocols for nation-state integration, how existing countries can interact with this new digital system, and eventually they plan to transition the whole thing into a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO.
The DAO transition sounds like the end goal. The system governing itself based on the will of its citizens, all locked in smart contracts.
That's the moment the temporary centralized server is finally gone, replaced by a truly autonomous network. And looking even further out, their long-term goals, like 3 to 15 years, get really expansive.
Yeah.
They're talking about research into ethical AI integration for human consciousness preservation.
Wow. Okay. That is a very long horizon. So to recap this deep dive, we have a system built on cryptographic truth with technology that secures your identity and your voice, all supporting a global AI-assisted governance structure.
We do. And while it's all theoretical architecture from these sources, the core idea is really striking. The Constitution says these rights can't be infringed, and the Foundation Protocol claims to build those rights directly into the math of the system.
Which really brings up a profound question about what law and freedom even mean.
It does. And it leaves us with an important point for you, the learner, to think about. If fundamental rights like privacy and freedom are enforced not by governments or paper documents, but are literally coded into an open-source global system enforced by cryptography, does that finally make them truly universal and unalienable for the first time in human history?
A heavy thought to consider. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.